Hi there and welcome back. This is a kit review, about a subject that is coming, I think, badly from the 90s, and this is a model of the KUs, the last evolution of the Defender series, the MD500E, and it is a model produced, I think, middle 90s should be, I don't find any date over the box art. And the model anyway is extremely interesting because it's a last evolution of that little kind of egg helicopters that we had back in time, and this was extremely interesting also because it's possible to make the version produced by Nardi and still used when making this video, around the end of 2024, and is still flying from the Guardia di Finanza crew. Is the kind of fiscal police, in Italy they also have fiscal police if you don't pay taxes, and it's extremely interesting, as I said, because it's made in 135 scale, and still today I think is the only representation of the evolution of the KUs and Defender. I took this model in a kind of a Facebook auction, and nowadays it's extremely easy to find this type of model because a lot of people don't know what the old ruined box contains it, and the kit is actually extremely simple. And I was making an auction where they was selling basically two similar kits. One was this one that was the MD500E with the crew. Quite interesting sheen, it's enough that you change some heads with, well, neither the pilot, I think, just mostly this, probably with some Hornet heads, the sniper version. It's possible to find something absolutely nicer than probably the plastic mold. And it was an auction that was selling both this version with the little narrowed front end and the ordinary round end, but the round one I lost with the guy that was bidding in the same identical moment, as it happens with online biddings and online action. I think everybody of us tried at least one time to do something like that. So I could only grab this one, and the other box was a rebox made by Italeri of the same identical kit. Remember that the only mold around of this model that is probably still around, it have been made in the 90s by Dragon Models, in the real beginning of Dragon. And as I say, the most interesting stuff is the scale. This is a very small helicopter, and I think I have it both in 72, 48, and of course in 35. And what's inside the box is extremely tiny and little, despite the quality of the Dragon at the time was already extremely nice and good. You see, this is all the variants that they made for all the series of the 500MD, and the main difference is around this part, because basically they propose only the version with the narrowed, and I really was hoping that inside the box I could find also the other front end. There is clearly the line over the mold where they changed the mold from the previous version, because with the other one it was also possible to do, what was in the movie the Blue Thunder enemy helicopter, and from the edge also you can see that, for example, the pins are damaged, and so you have to work a little on it, but it's nothing so dramatic, thinking about the uniquity of the model we are considering. As I say, this was quite famous because it was the bad one, the bad guy in the movie Blue Thunder. Was a kind of B movies of the 80s that I loved it so much at the time, and it was featuring a Gazelle helicopter heavily modified playing the Blue Thunder, what was in the beginning probably kind of granddad of the Apache helicopter. Apache that will be in the next review, because I'm preparing here where it is. This one will be the next one that I will going to do. Quite interesting, very cheap helicopter, also very cheap kit, I mean, not of course helicopter. And inside you have very few stuff, so basically being so little model, you basically have an extremely simple floor base for the cockpit with nearly no details. So the biggest work will be eventually, if you build up this type of model, to add a lot of details. There was surely something made by Edward back in time to update this, and there is a lot of room for scratch building and so on because of the scale. It's quite easy to work, already in 48 is possible to do stuff, but in 135 is even more easy. So basically you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 sprue, and just considerable that if you just find for this sometimes on eBay, the quotation and the value of the model rises up very easy, because the people that likes them, people that like helicopter, and I do, they know what it is inside the box, so they know that this is still a unique box for it, you know. Dragon made several boxes of this one. I remember that back in time I had the type used by the IDF, the Israeli Air Force, that was the round one, still not with the narrowed front part, with the TOW missile, anti-tank missile, you know, used by the ADF during the conflicts, you know. So there is plenty of boxes about that, and the crew basically is reduced to two figures inside, you know. Basically we have the pilot and we have the sniper figure, you know. The pilot is let me see if we can see that, not so bad, you know, in the face, you know, with the decent paintings. You can achieve a decent result, you know. Consider that the model, as I say, is something from 30 years ago. Of course the main uniform is not so detailed like they do today in modern figures, but everything is possible, so just keep in the head as possible surely to upgrade with something nicer, you know. The figure is exactly in the style of Dragon of the time, so everything was divided, so the two leg, the two arms, the bone, the body, the head, and so on, and the extra gear stuff that they had, like the sniper rifle, like this in the little hat for the sniper, you know. So it was possible to have a quite nice detail. For the time they were quite decent figure, you know. It always depends from who is the painter of this type of subject. They are a little bit different from the making of the model. Also, when I do my models, I ask to a professionist to do the part of the figure, you know. So the figure is painted by another fellow also in my models. Even more when I provide stuff for clients and so on, that they request something that is at the level of the detail of the model that I usually sell, so they need something that is a type of contest winner detail stuff, you know. As you can see, the cockpit is nearly no details, you know. There is a basic stuff that is not so wrong, but of course if you see the real front cockpit of a Cayuse of Defender, the stuff is much more complicated. It's not so easy like they did in this model, you know. So it's very lacking of details for the inner cockpit, you know. And then they have this Los Angeles Sheriff stuff. I think is a real one. I didn't know that they had this type of library. I never seen the picture, mostly because in the 80s, probably, you see there is the age of the model, 1994, so it means that is referred to something of the late 80s in service in the Los Angeles Police Department, you know. And that's it, quite easy, you know. There is no seat belts, no extra details like today we are used to have. But as I said, probably when you do this type of models, the most interesting and challenging part is really to keep the detail of the cockpit coming to life, you know. So add everything you can, and there is plenty of picture, because many of those helicopters are also used and still flying from private corporation, or as I said in the beginning of my video, by the Italian police. So there is just the trick to find the proper documentation, you know. So not so much to say more. Also the rotors and so on is quite basically and simple. They are really clearly have a detail of the early Dragon, you know. But as I said, being so unique, this is just the stuff, the only stuff that you can get in this scale to do this type of model. The transparent parts are quite transparent and very clear, you know. So is also very good that already at the time the Dragon models was one of the first one providing plastic covering for their kit parts, so you don't have the problem to have a scratch over this part despite the model have its age. It is just that of course some parts are folded, so there is some pins there that need to be taken care, you know. It's very easy to break, also because the plastic at the time was extremely crispy to be so clear, you know. But there is also the extra hole in details on the side windows, so it very nice and good job, and the shape seems completely taken, much better for example than the stuff that usually you can get in old Rebel items, you know. This is not a Rebel, this was their own mold. And last notice about the instruction sheet, quite easy, you know, with the little introduction as usual they did. So it's basically a few steps. You see the cockpit is extremely, this is really a back in time model, you know, because it reminds to me really the stuff that we made in the 90s with the Dragon model. At the time there was a standard, you know, in the market. They were extremely interesting stuff. The chopper is absolutely lovely, so I think is a must. If you can find one at an affordable price, As I say, they usually ask quite big money for this type of helicopters. It's absolutely worth it to get one, and so that's it. So that's it. Not so much to say, just force proof, and a lovely, lovely, lovely subject, urban elite, the names they gave it in the 90s to such stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next.